Well, good morning. I'm glad we're all here. There has been some accidents on the highways this morning, so I know we had some difficulty with lots of folks trying to get to the meeting today. So we're glad everybody could be here. Happy Valentine's Day. So Commissioner Mitchell's up here singing "Love Will Keep Us Together." So some Captain and Tennille, isn't that right? So we will have the meeting in lieu of that concert. All right, I want to welcome y'all to the Tuesday, February 14th, 2023 meeting of the Denton County Commissioners Court. And at this time, I'd like to welcome Marta Min forward. She is going to lead us on an invocation, and our pledges will be led by Rena Maloney, will lead us in our U.S. pledge, and Eric Hudmacher will lead us in our Texas pledge. So if you'll please stand, I want to remind everybody to turn off your cell phones.
Well, I hadn't planned a song, but if we've got one over here.
We don't have one.
I thought I'd give her the platform if she wanted to sing. Anyway, that's the theme today.
All right.
The theme today is Happy Valentine's Day, and God has even smiled down on us and kissed us with the rain, yes, even if there is a little bit of turmoil in it as well. But that's life. That's right. That's life. And so the scriptures today are from John 13, 34, and 35. I give you a new command. Love each other just as much as I have loved you. For when you demonstrate the same love that I have for you by loving one another, everyone will know that you're my true followers. And then in 1 Chronicles 13, he tells us how to do this. Love is large and incredibly patient. That's a big one. A big one. Love is gentle and consistently kind to all. It refuses to be jealous when blessing comes to someone else. That's a big one. Love does not brag about one's achievements nor inflate its own importance. Love does not traffic in shame and disrespect, nor selfishly seek its own honor. Love is not easily irritated or quick to take offense. Love joyfully celebrates honesty and finds no delight in what is wrong. Love is a safe place of shelter, for it never stops believing the best for others. Love never takes failure as defeat, for it never gives up. Verse 13, until then, there are three things that remain: faith, hope, and love, yet love surpasses them all. So above all else, let love be the beautiful prize for which you run. Father, we thank you for your word today. We ask that your Holy Spirit set this word in us and give us a new capacity to love, because love is always needing to enlarge and increase. And so I thank you that there's an increase of the spirit of love and unity with this Commissioner's Court and with this company of people called Denton County. We have much to do for you, and love is the key. In Jesus' name.
Amen. Thank you, Marta. All right. Very good.
Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And now for the pledge to the Lone Star State. I pledge allegiance to the flag, to the Texas, one state, indivisible.
All right, we did it.
There we go.
I can do a redo.
It's all good. It's okay. It happens to all of us.
You won't be invited back for that one.
All right.
I'm just kidding.
Oh, he'll never live that one down. Oh, he'll never live that one down.
Yeah, next week. We'll get it.
Okay, next week.
Yeah.
We'll do.
We'll give him another.
We're not here
opportunity.
next week. That's even better.
2 weeks. Yeah. We'll let him do next week so he can rehearse a little bit.
The rest of the year.
Okay. Well, thank you, Marta. Thank you, Rena. Thank you, Eric. All right. We have no one registered for item 1. Cheryl, is that correct, for public input for items? So there's no action on item 1. Members, let's go to item 3A. We have several guests with us today, and as well as a couple of our district judges. We're going to work through this agenda expeditiously. So let's go to 3A. This is approval of a proclamation recognizing January 2023 as National Human Trafficking Prevention Month in Denton County in any appropriate action. And Mr. Bob Williams said he's with us today. Where are you, Bob? There you are. If you'll come forward, please, sir. And I know we have members of our SART team are here as well. And Bob had asked us to do this back in January, and he was out ill. And we're sorry about the passing of your mother as well, Bob. So did you want to say anything before we consider this proclamation, sir?
I'd love to. I wanted to invite Tracy up too, our incredible sheriff.
Yes.
I was in, and I also wanted to introduce Jackie Keel, who's our business development manager, is with me this morning. But I wanted to thank each one of you for your kindness and your support of our mission and vision. And I want to tell you right here from Denton County, Texas, we have changed the narrative across this country that boys and young men are sex trafficked too. A couple of weeks ago, I was in Austin and at the mansion, and the director of DPS, Director McGraw, stood up at the press conference in front of everybody, and he very eloquently talked about sex trafficking. And he talked about the human trafficking of boys and young men. And he didn't pull any punches with how serious this is in Texas. And over the weekend, I got a chance to spend some time with Congressman Burgess, and he talked to me about how many calls we're getting from over the border. And so anyways, I just want you, none of this would happen without the support and your mentorship of our mission and vision. And I want to have a special shout out to Tracy Murphy, because as sheriff, he has stood with us, and he's attended all of our press conferences, and he has helped help us bring awareness to this problem. I mean, the Justice Department issued a study, 36% of human trafficking victims are boys and young men. ECPAT issued a study, 38% of human trafficking victims are boys and young men. Both studies say that it's still extremely underreported. And so we believe that it's up to or over 50% of human trafficking victims are boys and young men. So I just wanted to thank you for this. And Judge, you know how I feel about you, so you've been a great mentor and role model to me.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Sheriff, did you want to say anything? We're
Just
glad to have you
briefly,
here.
Judge, one of the things I'm most proud of is the work that we do collectively, and that includes you guys. That includes the court's support of not only this, but law enforcement in general. It's very much appreciated. We live in a unique county where people actually get along and actually like each other and want to do better for our community. And these amazing judges and these prosecutors and counselors and our nonprofits, we all know each other. We care about each other, and we are there for the same goal. And I just wanted to publicly thank you guys for your support, and thank all of these folks for being there, because we care about our community, we care about these kids, and it's amazing what you can accomplish when you don't care who gets the credit, and that's the amazing thing. Thank you, guys.
Good, thank you. All right, I'll go ahead and read this proclamation. This is a court proclamation regarding National Human Trafficking Prevention Month. And this is whereas human trafficking is a public health issue and crime that affects individuals, families, and communities across generations, exploiting the most vulnerable among us and weakening our collective well-being. And whereas human trafficking, as defined by the Trafficking Victims Protection Acts, is a commercial sex act induced by force, fraud, or coercion, or when a person induced to perform such an act is not yet 18 years old, or the recruitment, harboring, transportation, provision, or obtaining of a person for labor and services through the use of force, fraud, or coercion, for subjection to involuntary servitude, debt bondage, or slavery. And whereas human trafficking can happen to anyone, but certain populations are at higher risk because of a lack of prevention and services, in particular boys and young men, people affected by prior abuse or sexual violence, poverty and unsustainable living situations and homelessness, as well as those systematically marginalized and underserved. And whereas people can be trafficked in person and online, in industries such as restaurants, cleaning services, construction, and factories, and by strangers or someone they know, including partners, parents, or other family members. And whereas human trafficking is preventable by building individual, community, and societal understanding and resilience, reducing social inequities, and addressing social detriments of health. And whereas Robert Bob Williams opened Bob's House of Hope, the first safe house in the country dedicated to male survivors of human trafficking, ages 18 and up. And Bob's House of Hope is committed to ensuring all male-identifying individuals impacted by human trafficking can receive person-centered, trauma-informed, and culturally and linguistically appropriate care. And whereas human trafficking requires a coordinated community-wide response, and Denton County, Texas will form diverse partnerships to comprehensively address human trafficking. And whereas people who have experienced human trafficking have critical perspectives and expertise, and Bob's House of Hope will appropriately engage and collaborate with them to strengthen trafficking-related services and programs. And whereas the National Human Trafficking Prevention Month is an opportunity to raise awareness and educate everyone on how they can prevent and respond to human trafficking, Denton County encourages everyone to visit www.acf.hhs.gov/OTIP and humantraffickinghotline.org to learn more about human trafficking and ways that they too can help. And now, therefore, be it resolved, the Denton County Commissioners Court does hereby proclaim the month of January 2023 as National Human Trafficking Prevention Month, reaffirming the commitment to support efforts to address human trafficking, make resources available to assist individuals and communities that have experienced human trafficking, and build public-private partnerships to increase capacity, support a comprehensive and strategic response to human trafficking. Done in open court this 14th day of February 2023 upon a motion by the chair.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Williams. Any discussion? Well, Bob, thank you for being here and thank you for all that you do. And I think you and the sheriff outlined it quite well about it as a teamwork approach here at the county, and all of our public officials and public employees, and then our nonprofit partners and the general public. And that's one of the reasons we do this, is to bring awareness. And you can't change things if you're not willing to talk about them first. And that's exactly what we're doing publicly here today.
Thank
Is there any other comments?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
If you don't mind, thank you. Good morning, sir, and thank you
morning.
so much for being here and all the heart and soul that you put into your efforts. As you're aware, it's a horrible situation, and you're dealing with some of the most devastated individuals in our country, and to reprogram them back into society to where they can feel not only good about themselves again, but be productive citizens is very difficult. And it takes a lot of time, energy, good people, and money, which is why we always are doing everything we can to try to raise the money to take care of these individuals that didn't get the same opportunity as most of us did to grow up in a safe environment and have parents that love us and have that security. So I really appreciate what you and your team do. I also want to thank the Commissioners Court for allowing our Sheriff's Department to have to put a human trafficking division in.
Yeah, that's a big one.
A couple years ago, yeah.
Yeah, that's a big one.
And we've added to those investigators as well. And as some of you may have heard recently, there's always little sting operations going on. You don't hear about them a whole lot because they're trying to be careful, obviously. But there's a lot of folks that are customers, unfortunately, of this type of situation. And if you just look and read, they can be people out of your church. They can be law enforcement officers, which is really sad as well. Coaches, teachers. Think about that, how scary that is. And so it's so imperative that, like the sheriff said, that they all work together. And it's wonderful to know that the community of law enforcement and nonprofits and people like yourself get together to try to do so much for these young men and women.
Thank you.
It's a horrible situation, but I'm so glad to have people like you involved. The only other thing I would ask is, we have pins for everything. Okay, I've got my breast cancer awareness. My mother's a survivor, and not that it's ever cool to have pins like this, but I don't know if there is one for sex trafficking.
Yeah, there is.
There is,
Yeah.
okay, so we need to.
We'll get you one.
I'll be happy to, whatever I need to do to help make more of those and get them out,
Okay.
I would love to,
All right.
to bring more awareness. Because
Oh,
I'll tell you,
wonderful.
our citizens have no clue how bad it is.
Right.
Every time I speak about it, I try, and you see their eyes just go whoop. They just have no idea. We're all little bubbles.
Yeah, it's interesting, you know, we get an average of 5 calls a day from around the country. And right now, you know, with our partnership with Clear Channel, there's billboards in Times Square, all throughout New York City. There's billboards in Atlanta and billboards in LA right now as part of our national campaign to bring education and awareness to this. So we really need to continue the dialogue.
Yeah, well, and if we can get rid of it's just like anything, if we get rid of the customer, then there's no need for it.
We were just talking about that with the captain and the sheriff. That's the whole key, right?
Yeah.
Is to stop the buying. We have
That's
to
right.
stop the buying of our kids.
That's right.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but thank you again, Judge, thank you.
Anyone else?
Kevin is.
Oh, go right ahead,
Oh,
Commissioner.
Bob, thank you so much for what you do, and I can concur with all of Commissioner Williams' comments. I will say that the House of Hope, I've learned a lot about recently, and I'm so impressed with what you do and what the organization does. I really love the name, by the way. I've done a lot of kind of praying over hope, and what that really means to especially those of us who have faith is that it's not really, sometimes we mistake it as this thing that's like hope, like that that something might happen. For us, it's an assurance that things will be better. And so that is exactly what your House of Hope is doing for young people. So thank you so much for doing that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Mitchell.
Bob, thank you so much for all that you do. You know, up until a few years ago, the crimes against males was not so prevalent, or we didn't know about it. It was hidden. But now, it's getting out, so people know that not only are females being hurt, males are being hurt also. And I'm proud of the fact that you've brought that to Denton County to make sure that we know that everyone is getting hurt about this, by this human trafficking. Thank you for all that you do. Thank you for the way you do it, and as Kevin said, the House of Hope. Who doesn't want to live in the House of Hope? Because we know if we have hope, that we have a chance to make it. And so thank you for all that you do and how you made sure that everybody in Denton County and the state of Texas know that, yes, we're here to help you. And thank you for the team, Sheriff, and everyone that's helping. Thank you, the judges and prosecutors. Thank you. We appreciate you.
Thank you.
Good morning, Bob.
Good morning.
As your county commissioner for both the House of Hope and the new facility that you're going to be building, I want to thank you so much for all that you do. As you probably know, I wrote a column about sex trafficking in the Crossing Rivers Gazette for this month. And one of the things that I learned from talking to Sheriff Murphy about his team is that we have an opportunity as individuals to be involved and to help. To quote the sheriff, he said, if you see something, say something. And I thought in particular, ladies, about us, because is pimp the right word? For the person who would be trafficking this individual. But if the pimp allows a young woman to come into a restroom, which will be happening, especially maybe out on the major highways. And ladies, if you're in that restroom and you see a young woman who looks a little scared, a little unsure, etc., ask her, do you need help? And then you can help from there. You don't have to go confront the pimp yourself, but you can ask for the manager of the restaurant. You can make a call to the sheriff, to 911. We can help if we see something and are willing to say something. It's probably not quite the same for young men in a men's restroom because their pimp can go in with them. It's a men's restroom. But I was so appreciative of the sheriff telling those things for women. And Bob, for all you do, please call me if there's anything that we can do to be of help. And thank you and God bless you.
Well, thank you, and you've been a great help. I'm very grateful for your support and your leadership with helping us get our Justin property moving.
Of course.
All right, members, any other comments? All right, we do have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Let's get as many people as we need to.
Lynn?
Come join us.
She can hear you. You have to.
Come on up, come on up.
Oh, no, she's been having an ear problem for 6 months.
Well, I know, but she's having an appointment.
Like, I feel like I need to, but I.
All right. Next, I'd like to go on our agenda. We'll advance forward to item 21A. And at this time, I'd like to have Brooke Hambrick come forward. And 21A is approval of the legislative policy statements and/or resolutions and discussion or approval of other matters related to the 88th legislative session. And Brooke, I turned that mic off. I don't know if you may need to turn that back on, that little button right there to where it's green. So, anyway, good morning, Brooke, and members, this is our first legislative, formal public legislative update that you're going to receive this session. I know that y'all have had individual conversations with Brooke about issues related that you may have been tracking or areas of concern that I know y'all have been reading, different bills that have been filed and so forth. I know y'all have had different conversations. Some of y'all have reached out to me or sent us information as well. So we wanted to have Brooke come this morning, and we do have two of our district judges with us today representing our district judges, and so we were going to consider a request that they have that we advocate for as well, and so I appreciate our judges being here. So I'll go ahead and hand it off to you, Ms. Hambrick.
Yes, thank you so much, Judge. And good morning, Judge and Commissioners. It is an honor to be here today and visit with you and provide you with a quick update on the legislative session. On January 10th, the 88th regular session of the Texas Legislature convened, and it will meet for 140 days and end on May 29th. We're a little over a month into the session, and so far, 3,661 bills have been filed. And at this rate, we're likely to surpass the record of 6,900 bills that were filed during the last session. During the governor and the lieutenant governor's inaugural address, several priorities were mentioned for this session, which included property tax relief, parental rights and school choice, school and public safety, electric grid improvements, infrastructure funding, and border security. And just yesterday, Lieutenant Governor Patrick released a list of his 30 priority bills for this session. Traditionally, the Lieutenant Governor and the House Speaker unveiled 20 bills with low bill numbers near the start of each legislative session to indicate their priorities. However, since 2017, Lieutenant Governor has increased his list of priorities to 30. The Lieutenant Governor named committee assignments on January 23rd, and last week on Wednesday, February 8th, Speaker Phelan announced the House committee assignments. The committee assignments for our legislative delegation have been provided to you. Per the Texas Constitution, legislation may only be considered by the legislature before the 60th day if declared an emergency item by the governor. With the Senate and House committees assignments now set, legislators look next to Governor Abbott's declaration. The governor will share his legislative priorities during the State of the State address on Thursday, February 16th at 7:00 p.m., which will be a live telecast across the state. Passing a balanced budget is the legislature's only constitutional obligation during the session. Both the base budgets filed in the Senate and the House are similar and call for $130.1 billion in state spending over the next 2 years. Included in the preliminary budgets were $15 billion for property tax relief, $3 billion to increase the homestead exemption to $70,000, and that impacts the M&O for school funding, $4.6 billion for border security, and $3 billion for mental health initiatives. The Senate Finance Committee has been meeting over the past week to hear testimony on the base budget and will continue with those hearings this week. The House Appropriations Committee will begin their meetings today to begin their process for developing the budget. There are significant issues that the legislature will address this session, and a lot of the conversation will focus on the $32.7 billion surplus and how the state should spend those dollars. Throughout the session, we will work closely with our elected officials and department heads on bills that could positively or negatively impact the county. And I will continue to provide you with updates and bring issues to your attention for possible action. Today, at the request of our district judges, we have a resolution for you to consider with regards to the creation of a new district court as it relates to our continued population growth and anticipated caseloads. And with that, I will turn it back over to you, Judge.
Thank you, Brooke. I will go ahead and hear from Judge McFarlane. Judge Bruce McFarlane is here as well as Judge Tiffany Hartling, and I appreciate y'all working your docket around this morning and making yourself available. And I do have information that we've sent on to the Commissioners Court, some stuff that we've received from you, Judge McFarlane, as well as our district clerk. So I'll go ahead and open the floor to you, kind sir.
Thank you. I want to appreciate y'all for allowing me to be here today. We're here to ask for y'all to pass the resolution that the legislature create a new district court for Denton County to begin January 1 of 2025. Right now, Denton County has the fewest number of judges of the top 10 counties in the state of Texas. The judges are working hard here in Denton County, and right now we're getting rid of cases basically as fast as they're being filed. With Denton County being one of the fastest growing counties in the state, that's not going to be able to continue without the creation of a new court. And so we're asking for 2 years from now, when that caseload continues to increase, that we have a new court come online so that we can meet the needs of the citizens of Denton County. And so I know that y'all have recently been to the courthouse, and we appreciate y'all's taking time and looking into and supporting the needs of the judiciary. So that's all I have. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them, but thank you very much for being here.
Thank you, Judge. Thank you for being here. And I think he makes a very good point that this court would not go into effect now. It would not be, here in 23 or 24, but it would have to be at the beginning of 25. And so this is a forward-looking action on behalf of the district judges and for the Commissioners Court to consider the growth patterns of Denton County, and as they've worked diligently to especially untie the knot that we had during COVID and to implement the impacts that it made to our judicial system as they continue to work through that in new and different ways. But as we are a growing county, this would be something that we would be looking forward to implementing. And I think it's important, and the judge and I visited about this, is the timeliness of this as it relates to if we were to not take action now during this session, it would have to be considered in the next session, which would be 2 full years away, and then we would have to have a start date after that. So it could bump it back to the January of 26, and so it could be a 3-year action versus a 2-year action. And so that is part of the reason why we're asking for this consideration of the Commissioners Court today. I'll be happy to answer any questions or comments. Commissioner
Judge,
Mitchell.
I'm glad that the judges are paying attention to what's going on, the population. and the fact that citizens do not like to be hung up in court or not get a court date, and that you're looking forward to make sure that we take care of our citizens. You know, if you just look at this, you know, people looking at it, we're adding judges and we're adding judges, but we're adding people and we're adding people. And unfortunately, people commit crimes, or people need help with, you know,
Civil
the
matters.
state, civil matters or whatever. So we as Denton County, if we're gonna be a leader in the state, we have to keep up with what's going on. And at the same time, take care of our citizens' need. They pay their tax dollars and they don't wanna wait around to get things taken care of. So I wanna thank you for looking forward to making this happen.
Yes, ma'am, thank you.
Commissioner Falconer.
Judge, thank you so much for coming. First of all, I thank you for your service too, and I'm an architect, not a judge or an attorney, so I have to preface this, but and I appreciate the data that we were given, that I know you all took a lot of time to put forward. First of all, I agree with Commissioner Mitchell that I'm proud that you're looking forward. We always have to do that. We are growing. I always get a little concerned, having been in government for a long time, when we compare just based on comparison to other cities, counties, states, whatever those things are, because I always like to think that we're better than others, right? And that we have maybe less crime here than other counties, that kind of thing, right? But the data which you put together, which was really good, and I'm just going to use the word concern only, the question I guess I have is when I look at the data, and I realize that I appreciate you going back the 5 years, because I realize that COVID messes a lot of data up, right? So when I look at things, I appreciate that we go back to 18 and 19. But if I just look, all of that data I look through, if I were to graph it, it's not growing. It's actually, if anything, it's actually flat, or maybe even in some cases negative. We had 36,000 cases in 18, 38, and 19, and 32, and 22. Can you help me understand that? Because if I just looked at this without understanding anything else, and I've already said I don't understand the intricacies of what you all do. Can you help me understand? Because we obviously are concerned about always making sure that we're the most effective and efficient governing body that we have here in Texas.
Which page was that, Commissioner?
This is on the summary was on the PDF that was called District Courts, and it's a little box that just talks about how many orders of the court. But
I've got it. Yeah, that's it.
yeah,
Who wants to all be on the same page? And
Yes, sir.
Take your time, Judge, if you need to refer to that.
there's also, if you look through, which I also appreciated the breakdown by courts, and it sort of looks similar, right? That if you just graph those things, it doesn't.
Where is it, Bobby? Which one?
Yeah, the one.
That's it, Ms. Bishop, Commissioner Mitchell. It's like the third page in.
Yeah.
First
It's
page
got-
after the signature
It's
page.
got like
Okay.
little blue
Yeah,
vertical bars.
okay. Is it this one?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Well, so what is your question, Kevin?
Well, I just am trying to, if, again, I don't understand all the specifics, but when I look through this, and it seems to be backed up with your individual court data as well, and looking at those, is that we all know that we're growing in population, but if you look at this, if you didn't know that, you look at this, you go, it actually doesn't look like our caseloads are increasing. In fact, if I had to argue, I'd say they actually decreased a little bit. But I'm sure there's information I'm not gathering for this. So I'm just curious if you can help.
No, you're absolutely right with the actual numbers. If you look at 2018, 2019, they were greater than before COVID. What has happened is that a lot of the cases that sat still and didn't get disposed of during COVID. And so the number of criminal cases actually went up last year, increased. I don't know the exact percentage, but I know that most of our dockets went from 800 cases of criminal cases now to over 1,000. And so that's increased as with regard to each of the individual courts that hears criminal cases. But the issue is that, and I don't know whether this is a factor of COVID and that people being in, but now people are becoming, let's say, more litigious, in that even though the caseload is not as large as it was, they want more court time because they're fighting about more stuff. They're settling fewer cases in mediation than they have been before, and they're wanting their time in court. I will tell you this, prior to COVID, for temporary orders, I never had a time limit that I set on people. They could put them on the hour less docket. If they didn't finish within an hour, we'd come back another day. I can't do that anymore. Now you get 25 minutes aside, that's your temporary orders, and then I make my ruling because I don't have time. I'm setting cases minimum that are supposed to be done within just a few weeks of when they get filed, is we're setting them 3, 4, 5, 6 weeks out because more people are requesting court time. So you are absolutely correct in that the numbers have gone down, but the amount of time they're asking for in court has gone up. I'll also tell you this, a couple of my colleagues are down at a criminal conference, and they were talking to one of the Dallas criminal judges, and she said, you know, we have 800 felony cases that are on my docket right now. I have 800 to 1,000 criminal cases, plus 300 civil cases, plus 400 family cases. And so if you don't want to compare, you can just come up there and look and you'll see that it's working. So I guess the answer to the question is the numbers may be down, but the amount of time spent in court is up.
And I don't guess we have a way of tracking that in any way?
We don't. I will say this, we are actually in the middle of a time study. When I say we, the courts in the state of Texas, the Office of Court Administration is putting on a work study right now, and starting the second week in January, and I think it goes through the third week of February, we're tracking our time. So 3 months, 6 months from now, we may have something that shows what the time amount for each one is. They hadn't done one since 2007 or 2008. So the answer to the question is right now I don't have one. Hopefully I will in the future. Unfortunately, if we want the court to come online within 2 years,
right.
We don't have that time.
Right. And the concern, I guess I would have a kind of, because I understand that totally, right? We don't want to miss. On the other hand, I do understand that it's not at our discretion. If we push this and the legislature gives us the thumbs up, we can't in a year say, well, you know what, it hasn't really grown. We kind of have to put it in place, right? I think that's correct, isn't it? That they basically give the order that you.
Once it's been created, it's going to be
created
by
right?
the legislature.
Yeah, so we have to, when it goes into effect, has to be within the next 2 years, right? So.
Yeah, we're putting it at the absolute end of the deadline in which it has to be done.
Right.
Because otherwise, then we're probably looking at the earliest would be 2026, or if we're doing it like this session, we're requesting it would be 2027. And so this is my 23rd year on the bench. I will tell you, in the past, we've not been proactive like Commissioner Mitchell was saying, and we got behind big.
Right.
And so the time lags that we're experiencing now were even worse back then because we didn't make this move to do this, to see the growth. And it has gone down, so the caseload is down, but it's going up, and I can't see it 82 new citizens a day that the caseload in 2 years from now is not going to justify the need for a new court.
Yeah, I'm going to just say that as the freshman here, I'm concerned because I'm a data guy, right? And even what you just said, the data doesn't show that it's gone up, and we've had great population growth in the last 5 years. So, but I don't understand all the other intricacies. I'm going to defer to my colleagues here on that because I don't want to be the guy that is not helping out in the growth. But I will say the data doesn't help me in that, and that's why I have those questions.
Understood.
Judge.
Commissioner Edmondson.
Good morning, Judge.
Good morning.
Good to see you. I'm like Kevin, I'm interested in data, although I'm not a data person per se. But we have different kinds of courts in Denton County. In the district courts, we don't really specialize, as I see it, but maybe we do. Can you explain? Because part of the problem, to answer Kevin's question, is not all cases are the same. You know, obviously a murder trial takes a lot more time and a lot more energy on the part of those involved than a civil case that might have a lawsuit concerning a business or whatever. So tell me, for the benefit of our people watching, about the different kinds of cases and how many, what do we have the most of?
The most is going to be criminal cases.
Okay,
Well, I take that back. I don't have the exact numbers for that. I would say, because we have 5 courts that do criminal jurisdiction, running about 1,000 to 1,200 per court. So my guess is that the largest is going to be criminal. They each take a different amount of time. To answer your question, the different types of cases between civil, family, and criminal, they take different amounts of time, and they have it in different ways. For the most part, civil cases take the least amount of time. We have maybe a few summary judgment hearing or pretrial hearings, but for the most part, they take care of themselves until you come to trial. If they're a big case that comes to trial, then it takes a lot of time. Right now, I'm in the second week of a civil case they've told me is going to last the rest of this week, hopefully not into next week, because I've got a juror that's supposed to leave Saturday. But, but that happens once probably every 3 or 4 years where I have a civil case that takes that amount of time. I've had multiple week trials in civil cases probably 4 or 5 times in the past 22 years. On the other hand, the criminal cases, between the murders, capital murders, aggravated sexual assaults, we have those on almost a monthly or 6-week basis where we have to give them some court time, and if they don't plea, then those are the criminal cases that take the better part of a week to do a jury trial, and sometimes carry into the additional weeks. So I'm going to spend more time in jury trial with criminal cases than I am in civil cases. Most of the cases in civil court that go to trial, jury trial, are going to be short. They're car accident cases, and they'll take a day or 2. That many are not that great. Family law matters, that's a different animal. They rarely have jury trials in family cases, but they have bench trials and bench hearings in almost every one that's contested. Luckily, most of them are not contested, but now I would used to say 15% that are contested are now probably jumped to 20% since COVID, and they require the court time. They're the ones that need temporary orders to begin with, and so we have to get settings, within 2 weeks on most of those, and give them some time to get in court and balance it. So with regard to the specialization that you're talking about, we have 11 district courts. 1 does only criminal, 1 does only family, 1 does only civil. The remainder of them do a mixture.
and would our new court also be a mixture, or do you anticipate it being more specialized?
Right now, my understanding is the legislature really only creates general jurisdiction courts. They won't create a specialized court. And so it will be a general jurisdiction court. And the answer to your question is, we haven't decided yet. We're going to see what the caseload is at that point in time and where our greatest need is. And if our greatest need is still trying to reach the family law cases, then they'll probably get a larger family law. Or even if it's not that court, we'll shift it to somewhere else, because depending on where the court actually goes will also depend on what type of cases it can hear. But I do imagine that when we get a new court, that one of the courts that does not have criminal jurisdiction will gain criminal jurisdiction.
Judge, if I understand our process correctly, you are the administrative judge for the district courts, so you decide where a case goes. Is that correct?
Yes and no. I have the authority to assign caseloads to where they go. We don't operate that way, in that it's always been done by the group. We've decided where they go, okay. Because although unfortunately in my career I seem to have been the local administrative judge longer than I've wanted to be, you know, at some point, somebody else is going to take over, so I'm not just going to be doling out cases the way I see it. So it's all been done collectively. We get together as a group, decide what the caseload should be, and go from there.
Thank you so much. Appreciate your time.
And to Commissioner Edmondson's recent question, Judge, can you outline, I received an email, you did as well. Since January, there was a new order that gave, I guess, you additional flexibility on the assignment of cases. What was that?
With regard to,
What was that email that we got about that? I think it was from OCA. There was something related to that.
well,
Do you
I mean,
remember
the
that?
way I will
I
tell
can
you
look it
this, that I monitor, we get monthly reports from the district clerk on the courts. Right now, we've got set percentages that we all agreed on. This is how many percentage goes to which court. I monitor that on a monthly basis and keep up with it. In fact, at the end of January, we went down and kind of tweaked the percentages because I saw that some courts were getting too many and some weren't getting enough. And so it's something that we monitor on a monthly basis, and it's a constant thing. I don't go down and tweak it each month, but it's something I monitor, gather, and maybe every 6 months we may need to go down and tweak it a little bit because the filings have not gone. I will say we've been very successful in the criminal in getting them divided very equally. For some reason, the Odyssey system they have us hooked up with is a lot more work that doesn't work as well with the civil and family cases.
Thank you, Judge.
And the family law is a case, but it could be ongoing for a long time.
I just
Right,
finished a jury trial in November in a family case that started in 2017. And so, I mean, there were some extenuating circumstances, but unfortunately that one was a 2-week case. Once again, they're not big cases until they are, and then those are the ones that take the time. And so, depending on the circumstances, then yes. And unfortunately, this had 2 small children involved, and so they're in flux for 5 years while we're trying to get them done. And same thing for CPS cases. CPS cases do have a legislative deadline in that we have to get them done by a certain point in time, but regular family cases do not.
You know, this is a, go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna, Commissioner Edmondson, you'd asked, on the county comparison, you do have a nice breakdown that shows the difference between, in 2021 for civil, family, and criminal, and it's about 30% civil, 45% family, and 25% criminal, so it's a good.
Okay.
Okay, so I think it's important that we ask these questions because we have to balance competing interests, which is, you know, justice delayed is justice denied, but also having a very highly efficient and effective court system here in the county, and also the taxpayers. This is about $1 million ask. You know, I think that's important about the time we do tax title and license on the support of each additional district court. If I recall correctly, it's about $1 million, you know, by the time you pay for the court reporter and the bailiff and everybody. So it's not a small decision on behalf of the body. So I appreciate y'all having an understanding of that, but there's decisions that we need to advocate and make. And I would just ask Judge McFarland, and I'm sure he will agree to this, is that he just continue to work with us as we go through the data. If there's other performance measures the Commissioners Court would like to look at or identify, or should there be a necessity for more specialized courts, you know, internally, not created legislatively, but that are done internally, so we can help isolate and see what that flow
Judge,
is for that particular court. That might help.
On that issue, and Kevin, what you pointed out, the last column is cut off on the copy that I have, so it's just. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll go do that. That's all right. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Are there any other questions or comments? Okay, the chair will move for approval of a resolution. Where'd my resolution go? It's on the front here. Judge McFarland, did you want to say anything, or?
No, sir.
Judge
I'm good.
Hartling,
Thank
did
you
you
very
want
much.
to, add anything, Judge Hartling? Okay.
Well,
Thank
I
you.
will say I do agree with what you were saying, that we'll be happy to provide any information and work with y'all on any
Perfect, good.
specialization.
Thank you,
All right,
Judge.
thank you, sir.
Appreciate it.
All right, we have a motion by the chair, a second by Commissioner Mitchell. Any other discussion, members? And then I have a resolution here that we can adopt. All right. Hearing none, I'll go ahead and read this resolution. This is a resolution supporting an additional district court for Denton County. The Denton County Commissioners Court, Denton County, Texas, during a regular session on the 14th day of February, 2023, considered the following resolution. Whereas Denton County continues to see tremendous growth and is one of the top 10 fastest growing counties in the nation, according to data from the U.S. Census Bureau. And whereas according to the Texas Demographic Center, the growth will continue as the population of Denton County is projected to be over 1 million by 2025. And whereas Denton County currently has 11 district courts, and in fiscal year 2022, Denton County district courts received a collective new caseload of 17,376 cases and has a pending caseload of 16,718 cases. And whereas Denton County Commissioners Court recognizes a need for the creation of an additional district court to administer the anticipated caseload of the Denton County judicial system as a result of significant growth, and to provide the citizens of Denton County with an adequate number of judicial officers to ensure prompt disposition of cases. And whereas the Denton County Commissioners Court is supportive of creating a new district court effective January 1, 2025, so as to allow for it to budget resources in anticipation of the court. And now therefore be it resolved that the Denton County Commissioners Court supports the creation of a new Denton County District Court as of January 1st, 2025, to ensure that dispensation of justice without delay, and that the rights of all citizens are protected done in open court this 14th day of February 2023 upon a motion by the chair and second by Commissioner Mitchell. All right. Any other questions or comments? All in favor say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank y'all. All right, go back to justice. So thank y'all for being here. All right, members, that was one item. So I'll be happy to call up Ms. Hambrick and see if there's any other, do y'all have any other comments about the legislative session or items that you're particularly tracking that you would like for us to monitor closely? And as she said, there's thousands of bills that are related to counties across the state of Texas, over 2,000. We anticipate this year that will be related to the counties. I know our department heads and other officials we've been visiting with through their own particular associations have industry-specific or countywide implications. And so we've been looking at those and identifying those, and we'll be happy to track those in real time and get y'all updates as necessary. So members, are there other areas of focus as it relates to this legislative session? Commissioner Edmondson.
Brooke, thank you so much for checking all these things out for us. As you well know, we don't individually have time, and nor do our citizens, to do that. But I'm very curious, is there any perhaps pending legislation that would maybe take the state out of some of the county business and the city business and let us do our own thing for our own citizens?
I will tell you, out of the bills that have been filed to date, there are currently about 1,700 bills that have an impact to the counties that we are monitoring. And so as those continue to move through the process, we'll continue.
So there'll probably be a lot more unfunded mandates?
You know, that is something that we will always pay attention to. And, you know, we certainly want to have good governance and be good stewards with our taxpayer dollars.
Yes, ma'am.
And that's the reason why we have the Conference of Urban Counties and Texas Association of Counties to help us monitor those bills, because as you say, we certainly don't have time to monitor them. So it's important that we make sure that we get our information to the Conference of Urban Counties and to TAC, because they will help us monitor those bills. And so,
Well, and Commissioner, I will tell you that there has been a bill filed in the Senate, Senate Bill 175, that does impact our ability to join those associations.
yeah, they tried that last term also. So we've got to make sure that we be on top of what is being filed. So
yes, and that will certainly be a resolution that comes before this court for consideration.
And then we individually, as commissioners, as well as citizens, just like our residents in Denton County, can contact our own legislators and ask them to vote a certain way. That's not only our right, it's really our responsibility to do that.
Absolutely, and there's a great resource online. It's the Texas Legislature online, and that website is capitol.texas.gov, and citizens can go on there and create their own tracks on issues of interest. And again, all that information to contact our members, or certainly people are always welcome to contact the county. We can help them to the best of our ability.
Thank you, Brooke, for all your help.
Thank you.
Ma'am, appreciate it.
All right, thank you,
I
Brooke.
appreciate her.
All right, very good. Let me go back to, so we no other action related to 21. And we'll get that to you, Ashley, so you'll have that. Let me see if there's any other visitors with us. I need to. 6A. Okay, let's do 6A. Okay, let's go to, we're going to go to 7D first because it's a BA, and then we'll go back to 6A. So let's do item 7D. Thank you, Ryan. 7D is approval of the budget amendment request 100790 to transfer $102,793 within the 6 constable offices' budgets to move funding to the appropriate line items for the purchase of the Axon Taser camera system in any appropriate action.
Move to approve.
We have a motion by Commissioner Williams, second by Commissioner Edmondson. Any discussion? Is there any comments related to this? I know we have some visitors here. All right. Hearing none, we have a motion for approval and a second. So all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Next, let's go back to 6A. This is approval of the purchase of the tasers, body cameras, and car cameras from Axon Enterprises Incorporated in the amount of $729,631.92 over 5 years. This is $145,925.92 for fiscal year 2023 through the Bi-Board Cooperative Contracts 603-20 and 648-21 for all 6 constable offices in any appropriate action.
Move to approve.
We have a motion by Commissioner Williams, second by Commissioner Edmondson. Any discussion?
Yes, sir.
Go right ahead, please.
So I've obviously had some communication with a couple of the constables, and one thing that I would like to see the county do, and I wish the sheriff was still here so I could get his opinion on this, but, you know, it would be to the best, it would be to our advantage to have what I would call a uniformed camera system throughout the county. It's always been broken up. The constables have been on their own, and the sheriff's been on his own, and at one point, one constable's office would be this, another constable's office would be that. Not only would it be good for financially, because we can negotiate better contracts if we're all on the same system, but it works so much better for downloading, for uploading, I should say, as well, depending on the location of our units. It would be so much easier for service aspects. So I will personally be happy to talk with
Do they
the
use a
sheriffs.
different?
They use a totally different system.
The sheriff does.
Yeah, and so I don't know why, and again, he's not here to either way.
Explain, yeah.
Right, and so this is not an attack or anything like this. This is just for the Commissioners Court and for everybody to know that what I would love to see is us get on one service provider for all.
That the public safety in Denton County uses
Absolutely
the one.
be uniformed as best
It would probably
possible.
help with the staff as they deal with open records and.
There's a ton of advantages. Let's just put it that way.
Do we need
Now,
to,
And I know the
Don't
constable,
they already use Denco 911 altogether?
yeah, but that's different.
different.
This has nothing to do with it.
Saying that
Oh, yeah,
works to
sure,
all
sure.
use
Yes,
the
ma'am.
same
Yes,
thing.
ma'am.
and I know Constable Rochelle,
Right.
Scott and I both have been working on this for many months. So I know Constable Rochelle has asked the sheriff to, not him, his office.
Right,
Yeah,
yeah.
so
I'll-
they may decide to come in later,
all
but
right.
it has been offered.
Our purchasing director has a comment.
Yeah, I know, we did some work with the sheriff's office looking at the Axon equipment. At that time, the cost, he didn't feel like it was, right. I mean, it was pretty expensive to move to.
Yes.
It's very good equipment, but I think that's always an option for him and for us to look at any point in time. But I know that was, when he first looked at it, the constables weren't looking at it at that
Right, I
time,
understand.
And
It just
and
wasn't
maybe
right
with
the
time.
timing of it may have been an issue too, but, that was kind of where he was at the time, it was pretty expensive.
Yeah, and thank you, sir. Obviously, it's always important to be financially responsible with the taxpayers' monies. But this is one of those times that, quite frankly, it's worth doing what we need to uniform our county. There's no other agencies that do it that way.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's some other counties that may do just for the same reason that you mentioned. But I would love to, I'll reach out and talk with the sheriff and see what we can figure out. And
I think the more uniformity
Agree.
makes sense for lots of reasons, for purchasing capacity,
I know he's
buying
supportive of that
power
kind of
and so
stuff as well.
forth, so, yeah,
Sheriff's
I
always
think
been
that makes
supportive of
sense.
that, so, okay.
All right.
That's all I had. Sorry, Judge.
Perfect, no, that's good.
I do want you to know, we're all for standardizing equipment. It makes our job easier.
No, absolutely.
And it provides better services for the county also by doing those things.
Absolutely.
Very good. All right.
Thanks,
We have a
Judge.
motion and a second. All right. Any other comments?
Thank you, gentlemen, for being here today.
Thank you for what you do. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. All right, thank you. Thank you for what y'all do. All right, let's go back to item 2, our consent agenda. Members, are there any items you'd like to pull off the consent agenda, or do we have a
Move to
motion for
approve.
approval?
Second?
We have a motion by Commissioner Williams, second by Commissioner Falconer. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Any
Aye.
opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Our consent agenda today is item 2A, approval of order making appointments and any appropriate action. And we have 2 new hires in the Public Health Department and 1 in Records Management, so welcome. We're excited to have you. There's no action under item 2B. There's no transfers. Item 2C is approval of the payroll. Item 2D is approval of budget amendment request 100760 for technology services to transfer $300 from administrative supplies to administrative equipment to replace a non-functioning mini refrigerator at the training room for room A209. All right, let's go to item 5A as approval of bill report payments from CSCD, Community Corrections, TAIP, Sheriff's Training, Sheriff's Forfeiture, VIT interest, and DA forfeiture funds are presented for recording purposes only. Mr. May.
Thank you, Judge. I have no changes today. Recommend approval as presented.
All right. Do we have a motion for approval?
I'll move.
Motion by Commissioner Edmondson, second by Commissioner Mitchell. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Next, let's go to 6B, approval of the price increase for bid number 22-2706, printed materials to Gainesville Wholesale Printing and Packaging.
I'll move approval.
Motion by Commissioner Mitchell, second by Commissioner Edmondson. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Next is 7A, approve the countywide organizational goals budget calendar, budget process parameters, and establishing a budget priorities for the budget office to use when preparing a recommended budget for fiscal year 2024. All right, go right ahead. Alejandro from our budget office is going to make this comments.
Yes, good morning, Judge and Commissioners. This agenda item does include the budget calendar for fiscal year 2024. These dates do include important dates that we follow as part of the budget process. They do remain largely unchanged from the prior year, and we do end the budget calendar on September 12th, where we will hold the public hearings required for both the tax rate as well as the proposed budget, and where we will adopt the budget and the tax rate. As you know, the tax code does allow us to hold a public hearing and vote on the adoption of the tax rate on the same day, similar to last year. This agenda item also has the budget process parameters, which do include guidelines for county departments to follow when working on their initial request budget for the following year. One thing that I do want to note is that we are requesting that county departments do keep new requests to a minimum and to try and really work within their current existing budgets. As you know, during the budget process, they do have that flexibility to reallocate funding between their line items as they're working in the budget application. So as part of that, we will be presenting a recommended budget to Commissioners Court that will seek to keep the number of new positions for next year at a minimum. Thank you, Judge.
Thank you. Members, do you have any questions for Alejandro?
I
Go right
do.
ahead, Kevin.
Thank you, Alejandro. I realize that calendar, the whole public hearing thing and all that is very defined by the legislature and everything, but can you help me understand on the Tuesday, September 12th, there's like 4 different line items there, and one talks about no new revenue rate. I actually thought there was a voter approval rate thing we had to deal with as well. Can you help me?
Yes, Commissioner. So basically, the statute does dictate specifically what you have to do if you go with the no new revenue rate, if you exceed the no new revenue rate, but not the voter approval rate. So there are different requirements on what dates you have to follow, and the requirements you have to follow based on the tax rate that you proposed. So this calendar is prepared under the assumption that we will not be exceeding the voter approval rates.
Right.
If you exceed the voter approval rates, then you're required to hold to have an election, and the dates that we have in the calendar actually will have to change quite a bit. So this calendar is prepared under that assumption that we will not be exceeding the voter approval tax rate.
I think that's safe. But when I look at it, it says that on the 12th, we have to announce a meeting on adopting that tax rate on the same day that we're actually adopting it.
Yes, Commissioner. So that's referencing that specific public hearing on the proposed tax rate. So the tax code does allow us to vote on the tax rate on the same day as the public hearing. However, if we did not hold the public hearing on the same date as the vote for the tax rate, then statute requires us to announce at the end of the public hearing that the time and place that we will be voting on the tax rate. So in this particular instance, we're holding them all on the same day. But the reason that section is kept there is just because it is important to note that we do have to announce the date and time that the Commissioners Court will be meeting on that vote if we did not hold it on the same day as the public hearing. So to your point, yes, it is all happening on the same day, but if it didn't, then we would have to announce that at the end of the public hearing. So it's just an important detail to include as part of the agenda.
Actually not going to be doing that likely then, is what you're really saying. You're not, because we're not going to announce that we're going to having a meeting and then do the meeting 5 minutes later, right?
That's correct.
Right,
If we
okay.
did not hold it on the same day.
The way it reads, that's the way it looks, which doesn't sound very good.
That makes sense. Yeah, we could look at rewording that for the following year's budget calendar.
Yeah. Thank you.
Or this year.
Yeah, this year would be fine.
It's not adopted.
Yes, sir.
I'm all about transparency, and I want to make sure when our residents look at things like that, they don't go, what are you trying to do?
Yes, no, that absolutely makes sense. We'll make that change.
Okay.
That's better. All right. Thank you, Alejandro. Okay, good question. Any other comments? It's good to see things through fresh eyes. All right, do we have a motion for approval? Motion by Commissioner Mitchell, second by Commissioner Falconer. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you, Alejandro. And it goes without saying, I'll just reiterate it, that we're really looking to, as we go through this budget process, this is the first step in the county budget process, is that we're really looking to keep new hires at a minimum. So that is, we're going to, Alejandro's over there nodding. He's heard this from us already. So we're really trying to compensate the employees and attract employees, new hires for our vacancies, and we have numerous ones across the county, and also to retain the current employees that we have and try to reduce our budget impacts to our taxpayers as much as possible, try to reduce that. So by adding as few positions as we can, unless it totally makes sense. All right, do we have a motion and a second? Do we vote? We're all voted? Okay, all right, very good. Check that off. 7B is approval of the budget amendment request 100750 for the Department of Transportation and Engineering to allocate $72,688 from the Road and Bridge Fund revenue sale of surplus property to capital equipment and transfer from unappropriated contingency to fleet liability insurance for $2,314 and miscellaneous road and bridge expense for $75,000, and the auction funds will be used to purchase a skid steer approved as part of the fiscal year 2023 budget process, and the contingency funds are needed to cover a shortage in the fleet liability insurance line item and to cover the cost of spoils removal in any appropriate action. Motion by Commissioner Edmondson, second by Commissioner Mitchell. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Next is 7C, approval of budget amendment request 100780 for facilities management to transfer $3,000 from clothing benefit to uniforms to purchase logo well for the from the appropriate line item, any appropriate action. Motion by Commissioner Mitchell. Second by Commissioner Edmondson. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Next is 8A, report from Human Resources regarding hiring actions of elected officials. This is presented for recording purposes only. Mr. Hernandez.
Judge, Commissioners, good morning. We have one promotion in the county clerk, one new hire in juvenile probation, 4 new hires in the sheriff's office, and 1 promotion in the tax office. That's it for this week.
All right, thank you, Gustavo. Next is item 10A, approval of the final plat for Downs Thapa 2. This is lots 1 through 3, block 1. This is 12.24 acres located in Commissioner Precinct 4.
Judge, I'll move approval.
Motion by Commissioner Edmondson, second by Commissioner Williams. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Item 12A, under the Sheriff's Office, is approval of the 2022-2023 interlocal agreements for the use of the Denton County radio communication system for the following agencies within Denton County: the North Lake Police Department and Pilot Point Police Department and Fire Department, and any appropriate action.
Move to approve?
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Williams, second by Commissioner Falconer. Any discussion? Yes, ma'am.
May I ask Commissioner Williams?
Sure.
Because I like his idea of consistency throughout the county. Is this something we might also want to look at, trying to have everybody using the same thing?
So it really depends on whether the cities have their own dispatch or not. So it's for dispatching, but majority of cities have in their dispatch office at least one of our radios that we give them. So we're all in the same within the dispatchers, but that doesn't mean that all the police departments are on the same. But something that you do bring up that we've been working on a lot, and if you don't mind stepping up real quick to kind of give, I think this is a segue into something that's going on that's extremely important for not only our police departments but our citizens, is we're looking to put another tower in to improve the communication throughout the county. When I worked in the city of Roanoke, we had certain areas that were what we call dead spots, where you couldn't key up and get out, so it's an officer safety issue. And in North Lake has the same kind of thing. When I was working with the county, when we worked in certain areas inside some of the buildings that are in the, let's call it the south and southwest portions of the county, you had dead spots as well. And so we've been working with the cities over there and the county to get a solution. And so if you don't mind, give a quick update of kind of where we are and what's going on, I'd really appreciate that. I think it's great for our citizens, and that's a great question too.
Sure. Thank you, Commissioner. Yes, we have been working with, I've been working alongside our communications manager with the Sheriff's Office, Billy Willis, and partnership also with the City of Roanoke Police Department and Fire Department and City Management. We're currently looking at siting an additional tower in the City of Roanoke to add to our system capacity. This would allow the City of Roanoke Police Department to move off of a UHF radio system, which is, in simple terms, a different radio that is not directly able to communicate with county radios. That will enhance public safety for citizens as well as officer safety, because when they call for assistance, anybody from a DPS trooper to a South Lake unit or even an Argyle or SO unit can all communicate with Roanoke PD officers that way. So where we're at currently is kind of in a nearly final stages of getting a report from Motorola to determine just exactly what it'll require of our system to add another tower, as well as some pricing. I can say that right now we're actually going to have 2 towers to be able to do this, because adding 1 tower will actually be a detriment to the radio system and the way it covers the county. Okay. So we're looking at that and trying to finalize some of the details to be the most cost effective for the county as well.
So I think it answers part of Commissioner's question as far as being able to communicate with each other better.
Yes.
Because North Lake is on our system.
Yes.
And they back up Roanoke, and then Trophy Club is on our system, and they back up Roanoke. So there's no communication amongst the officers when they're helping each other out, if that makes sense. And I think it's imperative to, one of the other big reasons for this is the dead spots that we have within, and it's not just, it goes into the Grapevine Lake area, across, so if you don't mind touching quickly on the dead spots that it should cover if and when this occurs.
Yes. So the system maps right now that we're looking at, and we're looking at a highly attenuated version of the map, so it kind of gives us an idea of what in-building coverage also looks like. Because a lot of times when you walk into a building with your radio, it just ceases to work. So these additional tower sites that we're looking at expands the radio coverage across the county. And you'd be surprised, it's not just in the city of Roanoke or the immediate area around it. Like you said, Grapevine Lake, some holes that we have currently will be filled in, but we'll also fill in all the way out 114 to the county line by adding this additional site. So basically we're looking at reflections of signal, we're looking at hills and how they kind of block a signal as well, or even buildings and construction, you know. A lot of buildings are going vertical and that blocks signal as well. So the addition of additional radio towers with sites increases our capacity as well as our ability to serve underserved areas.
Eric and Commissioner, God forbid that we ever have anything happen here like Lansing, Michigan had happened last night. But I was watching a news conference this morning with the police chief from Lansing, and he said what really just warmed his heart was how he had law enforcement support almost immediately from every agency in the area. And this would be helpful if we would have anything at all requiring multiple law enforcement agencies. So I think it's a great idea. Thank you, Commissioner, for exploring that.
Absolutely. Yes, ma'am.
And your agreements that you're signing help ensure that they have the radio system access as well as the programming in their radios so that they can utilize our system. Keeps them alive and active in the system.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate that. Thank you, Judge.
All right, those are great questions. All right. Where are we at? I know which one we're on. I'm trying to figure out where did we do a motion before? I think we have motions. We're all ready. All right. All right. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. All right, 12B, approval of the 2023 interlocal agreements for shared governance, communication, and dispatch services for Sanger ISD Police Department and any appropriate action.
To approve.
We have a motion by Commissioner Williams, second by Commissioner Falconer. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. There be no action under 13A. Under 13B, approval of the United Way of Denton County Incorporated funding request to fulfill the allocation of the American Rescue Plan for housing assistance, nonprofit assistance, and food assistance due to COVID-19 and any appropriate action. Motion by Commissioner Mitchell, second by Commissioner Edmondson. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Next is 14A, approval of the change order number 1 to the contract between Denton County, Texas and Jago Public Company for the Indian Trail Improvements project from FM 2450 to FM 455 to provide for a time extension of 221 days and deduction of $402,654.57 for under contingency allowance for the additional work requested under this change order for a total revised contract amount of $5,362,607.37 and any appropriate action.
Move to approve.
Motion by Commissioner Williams, second by Commissioner Edmondson. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Next is 14B, approval of renewal number 3 of the consulting agreement between Denton County, Texas and Devcon Incorporated for services as a commercial property manager to manage the obligations of Denton County for a 15-acre tract known as Waterstone, located at the northwest corner of FM 423 in Lebanon, City of Frisco, Texas, in Denton County Commissioner Precinct 2 at a cost of $1,000 per month, totaling $12,000 per year, with funding to come from Alder line item 0153555096. Any appropriate action?
Move approval.
Motion by Commissioner Falconer, second by Commissioner Williams. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Next is 14C, approval of amendment number 1 to addendum number 1. Amendment number 1 to addendum number 1 to the master agreement for architectural services between Denton County, Texas, the owner, and Kirkpatrick Architectural Studios, the architect, for the Woods House project, RFQ 202583 miscellaneous facility projects in the amount of $14,900, with funding to come from Hot Funds Tourism Grant. This is the Woods House Restoration, order line item 0175561058. As requested and recommended by the Denton County Purchasing Director. The chair will move for approval. Second by Commissioner Mitchell. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Next is 14D, approval amendment number 1 to the agreement between Denton County and Engineer-2022 Drainage and Structure Project RFQ number 01182451 between Denton County, Texas and Half Associates Incorporated in the not-to-exceed amount of $54,070 with funding to come from Transportation and Engineering Professional Services, order line item 205301857 as recommended by the Denton County Purchasing Director.
Move to approve.
Motion by Commissioner Williams, second by Commissioner Falconer. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Next, let's go to item 17. This is community updates, and we'll, members, do I have any community updates?
No, sir.
Anyone? All right. Anyone? Commissioner Mitchell has some.
Just a moment. That's not it. A chili cook-off on March 30th, Mayor Flower Mound in Holland Village. I also have Children Works of Art on March 1st. I also have a 2023 Scholarship for Sustainability, State of Texas Alliance for Recycling. Also have a Regional Neighborhood Summit with Louisville, Coppell, and Flower Mound taking place on February 18th in Coppell. A Thrive Nature Walk in Louisville on the 19th. And that's all I have.
Perfect. All right. Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Edmondson.
Well, as you all know, today is Valentine's Day. And thank you, Commissioner Falconer, for the lovely red rose.
Way to make
I
me
noticed
look
that
bad.
you only gave it to the ladies. Thank you, we appreciate that. And Judge Eads, I thank you for the candy that Holly brought us. So I guess you paid for that, maybe
Oh,
Holly
this
paid
is,
for it.
these are from Holly. Y'all's is in the
Holly.
conference room.
It says from
Holly,
Holly
thank
on
you, I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
I have,
Y'all's is in the conference room.
oh, great. What,
it. Your guys is on the way.
the check is in the mail, too?
Mr. Day, I think she
Shipping, I
copied
don't know
me.
what happened. I got shipping issues. That's what I was told.
That's okay.
Okay, well, getting back to my precinct, we have a couple of really exciting things going on at the American Legion Hall. First of all, today, from noon until 2, we're going to have a program about African-American contributions here in Denton County and to the American history. So that's something that I think is very important. This is, I believe, a month in which we are to recognize African-American history. Then later tonight, they're really going to kick up their heels at the American Legion Hall. They're going to have a Valentine's Day dinner and dance. And it's for mature adults 50 and above. So we should see some very
God, am I in that
interesting
category
steps.
now?
You are now.
Yeah.
We're not going to talk about that stuff. We're here just to talk about they're going to dance. And then Trophy Club has a fun run for kindness, which is going to be on the 25th from 8 to 11 at Trophy Club Park. So any of you who wish to be kind and not sarcastic in your remarks are very well invited to this particular event. So thank you all very much.
I love it. All right, I got a couple. This Saturday, February the 18th, from 8 a.m. to noon, the city of Coppell, the town of Flower Mound, and the city of Louisville will bring together residents to hear local leaders and industry professionals. This is a Tri-City Neighborhood Summit, and we'll focus on neighborhood conflict resolutions and how to spot contractor fraud and block planning 101. I think it'll be a lot of fun. And then our Upper Trinity Regional Water District is hosting a free water talk webinar tomorrow at noon. And Pat Moyer of the Denton County Master Gardeners will discuss the best practices and techniques to enhance your plants. So you can please visit Facebook events, the Water Talk Pruning for Success. So check that out. And we're going to do a big Denton County shout out to and congratulations to our dear friend and mayor of the town of Hickory Creek, Mayor Lynn Clark, for her first place winning in the 2022 Denton Area Mayor's Red Kettle Challenge. They're made a big deal about it for the Salvation Army. So I want to give a shout out to her. And then this is fun, that later today, you can go out head out to 432 South Highway 377 in Pilot Point for the first ever adoption event entitled Coffee and Canines. And so you can grab a coffee, especially brewed for you by Elevated Grounds, while loving on some adorable, adoptable, do you like that? Who wrote the script? Puppies. So Bobby, you can go get you a dog for Fred for Valentine's. And that's from 11 to 2, so we'll get out of here.
If looks could kill.
I'd love to see that. I want to give another big shout out to Marcus High School Cheerleading for their first national title in the novice non-building varsity crowd at the 2023 NCAA High School National Championship held in Dallas a few weeks ago. So shout out to the Marcus Marauders High School Cheerleading team. All right. Very good. Yes, sir.
Could I interject? I realize that there's a couple of these things that'll happen before we reconvene. So in Carrollton, they're having their annual Daddy-Daughter Dance benefiting the Carrollton Police Officers Association on February 25th. And in the Colony, their Sweetheart Ball on February 18th.
Very good. Okay. Let's go to our executive session. We have 3 items today under 15A, Texas Government Code 418183F. Closed meeting to deliberate information which is confidential under the Texas Disaster Act related to managing emergencies and disasters. 15B, Texas Government Code 551072, deliberation regarding real property. This is a closed meeting to deliberate the purchase, lease, or value of real property located in Denton County Commissioner Precinct 3 and Commissioner Precinct 4. When deliberation in an open meeting would have a detrimental effect on the position of a governmental body and negotiations with a third person. And 15C, Texas Government Code 5510711B, consultation with attorney in a closed meeting when a governmental body seeks advice of its attorney about a settlement offer in MDL number 2804 in regards to the National Prescription Opiate litigation, which is currently pending in the United States District Court for the Northern District of Ohio in any appropriate action. And it is 10:36, and we are in executive session.